Mr. Schoaf got me involved in sales first. He got me involved in home building and land development and manufacturing and all kinds of things. Schoaf was an entrepreneur. He did a lot of things. One of the tips he gave me was, find a unique person and build a company around them, instead of starting a company and trying to find somebody unique. I've tried it both ways, right? He had a lot of tips. But he got me in sales. He said, look, try sales for a while because you'll learn more about human behavior in sales than anywhere else. You'll run into this incredible variety of people. And he said, you'll just learn. It's worth a university education to get in sales. Talk to people from all walks of life, people with all kinds of problems, happy people and sad people, people that don't need any help, people need lots of help. Just get out there and see the people. He said, you'll get educated about human behavior and life and what's going on, how to identify. Just find out about life by getting out there and mixing it up in sales. I found out he was right. So I got this incredible education in sales. But he gave me this, how to make a good presentation. And I got pretty good at it. In fact, I used to hear people say, hey, you got to be one of the world's great salesmen. I thought, wow, the man has taught me well. Somebody else would say, hey, I've heard them all. You got to be one of the best. I thought, I've got it made. And then one day, the awful truth dawned on me. I said, wait a minute, something's wrong. If I'm one of the world's great salesmen, how come they ain't buying? I was getting faked out. See, I was being congratulated for my presentation. I had yet to master the art of persuasion. Something interesting to keep in mind, and that is, there is a difference between presentation and persuasion. First you learn to make a presentation, then you learn the art of persuasion. Because I got a little faked out on this at first. So there's a difference between presentation and persuasion. There were two great orators of antiquity. One was Cicero. He was Roman. The other one was Demosthenes. He was Greek. And they were both great orators, great speakers. But it was said of Cicero, when he spoke, everybody said, what a great speech. It was said of Demosthenes, when he spoke, everybody said, let us march. And that's the difference between presentation and persuasion. And if you haven't picked up this phrase yet, now's the time to put it here. Results is the name of the game. If I can persuade you for results. Some people teach for others to learn. Some people teach for others to use. Hopefully I fall in the latter category. I don't want to know your grade on this stuff 6 months from now. I want to read your bank balance 6 months from now. Your style, your language, the changes, the results, tangible, intangible, progress, steps. See, that's what it's all about. Results is the name of the game. And here's the art of persuasion. Let me give you a few simple keys to remember in learning the art of persuasion. First of all, become a good storyteller. It's one of the best ways to persuade is to use stories. Jesus, master teacher, was the great storyteller of all time. He said the kingdom of heaven is like a man, it's like a woman, it's like this, it's like this. Always telling a story. Human stories to illustrate what you're trying to get across. So become a good storyteller. Now, to be a good storyteller, you got to collect stories. It's one of the reasons for your journal. Okay? It's one of the reasons for your journal is to collect stories. Just don't miss any of the stories that can help you. You just keep this handy and just jot down little things that come your way so you don't miss them. Keep your journal handy. Gather up the stories, your impressions, so that you can tell the stories of where you've been and who you've met and things you've read. Okay? Learn to be the teller of stories. Doesn't take much of a story. What was I trying to illustrate? Oh, we all need a little help. I was illustrating that one time. I said, I remember when I was a little bitty kid, the first day I decided I could ride a bicycle. I know I'm too little for my feet to touch the ground. But I thought, I can ride one of those things. I'm just little. I said, I just need two things. First, I need somebody to hold it so I can get on. Now that I'd figured out, because I couldn't figure out how I could get on it and get going by myself. But I said, if somebody's to hold it and let me on it and then give me a push, I could ride it. Right? I knew getting off was easy, right? Just fall off. I mean, that's easy, right? I've already learned that art. But I figured out if somebody held it, if I got on it and they gave me a push, I could ride it. So it doesn't take much of a story. Just be a storyteller. It'll get the point across. Okay? So be a gatherer of stories. Now, a daily journal doesn't mean you write in it every day, but it does mean you've got it handy. I wrote something from Bernard Shaw. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. He said, I do not believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they cannot find them, they make them. Next, the art of persuasion is don't exaggerate. Correct handling of the facts. Nothing destroys credibility like a misuse of the facts. If it's 100, it's 100. If it's 500, it's 500. Make sure the numbers are correct and the facts are correct. Your meticulous sticking to the facts will make this credibility so strong. Here's another one in the art of persuasion, oratory. And if you're not, involved in sort of speaking in public or to groups of people, you may not be so involved in oratory, but even in personal conversation, really public presentation is only an extension of personal conversation. That's how you practice your public presentation, personal conversation. Don't make one separate from the other. Be just as good a storyteller in person as you are on the platform, or as you are in public, or as you are to your office, or to your group, or to your salespeople, or your organization, or whatever. Be a good storyteller wherever you go. Learn how to get your point across one-on-one, just as important as one on a group. Okay? That way you get lots of practice, because we're always talking and visiting and chatting with people. But make it a practice session. Now, oratory is just saying something extremely well for just a little burst of time. I have a little bit of it in the evening seminar when I come to the disease of attitude called complaining. It's in there. When I say spend 5 minutes complaining and you've wasted 5, and you may have begun what's known as economic cancer of the bone. Surely they will soon haul you off into a financial desert and there let you choke on the dust of your own regret. Now, that's just a little what we call a burst of oratory, right? It's just something well said, well put together, and you just use it. One is for attention, of course. One is to get the point across. One is to cover what you're trying to cover. Okay? But use it. Now, you can't do that for 30 minutes, right? The attention span isn't that long, but oratory is good. Okay, next, learn how to quote. Sometimes you can't say it quite as well yourself as someone else has said it. So be a gatherer of quotes and learn quotes that can help to illustrate whatever you're wanting to say. And quotes are also a good attention getter. Do you notice how, you're just going along in conversation and you quote something? People just listen a little better when you quote. You quote a poem or a sentence or a saying or something. It's really helpful in the art of persuasion, getting attention. It also shows you've done your homework. You are really interested enough in your subject to gather up the quotes on the subject. So use quotes. I have quotes, right, sprinkled throughout that whole evening seminar. One of them was, Benjamin Disraeli once said, nothing can resist a human will that will stake even its existence on the extent of its purpose. See, that's well said. Just learn the quotes, capture them in your journal, and then rehearse them and repeat them till they become part of you. And sure enough, you'll find all kinds of uses for the stuff you've captured and practiced. Captured and practiced. Salt Lake City the other day, I was doing a seminar. And I was talking about the truth. And I remembered Churchill's quote, "The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, and ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is." See, that's well said. You could sit up all night and not think of that, right? I mean, that's good. Good quotes. So learn how. The quotes and the poems are just, they're heavy. They're good stuff. Whether it's fun or whether it's serious, just learn all the quotes. Something you write yourself. Write it out and then rehearse it. If it sounds good, and then use it. Express yourself on paper. Then go over it till it takes root in your mind and your heart and starts to grow. And sure enough, daily in conversation, all kinds of occasions you'll have to quote something that you've written, a couple of verses of something. But use quotes. They're so good because some people have said it so well. And if you practice, you can say something so well that it'll get the point across. It'll cover the subject. It'll do the job. So quotes. The next one is learn how to paint pictures. Words fitly framed together that describe something, that gives color to what you're trying to say, gives depth. It has several dimensions. Learn how to paint pictures with words. Part of the art of persuasion is taking people on a word journey. A journey of words, descriptions. Now, part of those pictures develop as you get older, as you get more experience in life. Part of that's just a growth process. It really is. One of Judy's boys, Bruce, when Bruce was about 12, we're up at the ranch riding the motorcycles up on the Jeep trail. I'm in the lead one day, right? And we're running the Jeep trails. I noticed this little clearing right through the trees where the trail made a little circle out, along the side of the mountain. And the view was absolutely breathtaking. So I pulled up and stopped. I'm taking off my helmet. I'm looking at this view. It is spectacular. The colors, it's along about 5 o'clock in the evening and the colors are gathering. And the valley below, this little river running through the valley, the cattle are down there grazing. The mountains in the distance, the colors, the trees, the mountains, it was just fantastic. And I'm drinking in this scene. And Bruce comes flying up on his motorcycle, right, up behind me, stops, gets off, takes off his helmet, he's pulling off his gloves, walking up where I am. And I say, "Bruce, look at this view. Isn't this fabulous?" And he takes a look. And he looks at his watch and says, "We better get going. We're going to be late." And I thought, why doesn't this view affect him like it affects me? I'm stunned by the colors and what's happening. And then it dawned on me, he's only 12. See, when you're 12, you've only got 4 or 5 colors on your palette to paint pictures. You just don't have very many. But sure enough, as you get older, as you gather experience, you just get this better variety of colors on your palette, all kinds of shades of green and blue. The colors start to grow and change. Then if you get good at using all these colors to paint pictures in other people's minds, see, that's when things can really start to take shape. Learning how to paint pictures, how to get the ideas across, how to tell the stories, how to get to the heart of the matter. All of that is a matter of art. Learning how, painting pictures. Here's another part of the art of persuasion, straight talk. We've all used the expression. It's a good expression. Let's tell it like it is. Almost everybody's willing to say, level with me. Just let's tell it like it is. Straight talk. And we can all use straight talk. Here's the next one, challenge. Everybody responds to a challenge. I'm not sure you can do it. I don't know. See, all you got to do is say that to me, right? See, I bet you can't make another $1 million in the next 6 months. How much we got riding on this, right? I mean, that's all I want to know, right? What is the bet? Hey, we all respond to a challenge. We all respond to doing something well, seeing if we can do it. I mean, since we were kids, right? Competition, challenge. I always go for that. Okay? Climbing the mountain, going through the experience, becoming a better person, learning to talk better and walk better and look better, and lifestyle, affecting other people, developing personality. There's challenges everywhere. And if you're good at giving somebody a challenge, whether it's a small one or a large one, whether it's a small step or a long step, just challenge people to change, challenge them to grow, challenge them to buy, to decide, to try, to move. If you're good at challenge, you'll be good in the art of persuasion. And last, in the art of persuasion, the greatest element in the art of persuasion is a passionate belief in something. We're all affected by people who passionately believe. Maybe it's an experience, or maybe it's a philosophical viewpoint, or political, or social, or something. These incredible people that have this unbelievable ability to feel strong, immensely strong about an idea. See, that'll affect everything else you do. A passionate belief in something. And probably the greatest illustration of this passionate belief and how it works in the art of persuasion is a story about Paul, the great leader of the early Christians, formerly known as Saul from Tarsus. After his conversion, he became a unique champion of the early Christian church. In fact, he had a nickname. They called Paul the Great Persuader. That's what they called him. I'm sure the story went around saying, if you don't want to be a Christian, here's a guy you don't want to get around. I mean, he's got this incredible story. If you get close to him, he'll put his story on you. And unless you're terribly strong, he'll get you. He's got this story. Not only does he have the story, but he's got this incredible ability to tell it. And sure enough, he must have been the great persuader. Once you get good at the art of persuasion, telling your story, learning identification and logic and reason, learning to paint pictures and solutions, learning to give quotes and write your own, make this whole mixture of communication something that is a daily important part of your life. And sure enough, if you'll get good at it, as you can, very few people will be able to escape your influence, whether they're children or business people, family, friends, or people from distant lands. Communication, the art of persuasion,